Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon. This episode is the Aliens of Tasmoyar. This is a experience on another planet that Kuntarkis has, but before we go into that, just for the first 10 minutes of this episode, we're going to experience another visit to another planet. It's Kuntarkis going to an alternate reality of Earth. So here's Kuntarkis.
Mate, I had an experience last night, mate, that really showed me how powerful I am in spirit world.
Oh, wow.
I came out of my body and I went out through the wall, like I've done many times over, and I remembered very well. And I trained last night and I was pretty tired, so my body had a good sleep. I was out most of the night. The funny thing is, when I came out, I was suddenly somewhere else. Now, I'm not sure if it's a parallel world or this Earth, but there's reasons for it maybe, or reasons for it maybe not. But what it was, I was at some place and I took over from Roman because Roman was murdered by these three guys, these three men. For whatever reason, I have no idea. He was murdered. So it's got to be a parallel world. And where I was literally physical. That's how I felt. People were coming up to me, smacking me gently on the shoulder, saying, great job and all this. And I'm sort of trying to familiarize myself with the surroundings. And it looked like it was going to be a big show. And it was some massive school, like probably kids in 16 years or 18 years of age, that type of thing. And there were like hundreds and hundreds of parents. It was a lot of people. And the funny thing is, Michael, I was the coordinator. And I was doing all these different jobs. And what was really amazing, I suddenly felt this overwhelming energy come over my body. And I suddenly said to myself, I can do anything. I'm here for a reason, because I was very aware that I was present there. Very aware. That is a good thing for me. And what I was doing, I was levitating. I was levitating up 60 feet in different areas about this, the curtains, these massive curtains that were made out of that really heavy, thick material that was all creamy white. And they opened up and they weren't doing it. Something was caught up there and they never had the ladders. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, what you're about to see may freak you out, but it's part of the job. And I literally levitated straight up to where the problem was. I undid the cord system and fixed it up so these massive cords would be able to pull the curtain open. So I fixed that. It took me about 10, 15 minutes if I look at the time factor. I levitated back down again, and people were just looking at me and saying, well, we don't know how you did that, Roman, but we're not going to question it because you fixed the problem. So thank you. And they just let it go. Then, as we were sitting down watching it, I saw a bit of a, what's the word? When someone causes an issue, a bit of chaos, or there's another word for it, I can't think of it. Yeah. And I looked up and I said, oh, well, I'm the coordinator, so I must have to fix this up. So I got up out of my seat, and the show was about to start in about 5 minutes. And I went up to them and I said, excuse me. I said, what's going on here? And there were these three guys. And I said, why do I know you? Why do I know you? And suddenly it hit me. I saw them murder Roman, literally stab him to death.
Oh.
Right? Stab him to death. And I said, these are the three guys. These are the three guys. I said that twice. And I said, look, you'll have to stop this. This is not right. If you want to communicate with someone, it's not this problem with this person. It's me you want to talk to. And this guy said, what did you say? And I said, well, you heard me. I said, you talk to me. And he said, hang on, he said, do you have a twin brother? I said, no. And I looked at him and I said, didn't work, did it? And he looked at me and said, what'd you say? I said, you heard me. He said, I got a good mind to punch you right in the face. I said, not here. I said, let's go somewhere private. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, right. And as I looked down, I could see they had a machete. two of the guys had machetes. The other one didn't. And they were like tied to their belt on the side, wearing this long sort of, you know how some people wear like a long greyish coat? Well, this was made out of soft, sort of heavy material. Maybe it was just the wear that they wear on that planet. I have no idea. So I walked with them, and the two guys were behind me. And I was watching them. I was really keeping my self-awareness, what was going on. And I walked down past, I walked past the actual building, right around the back where it was dark. Not dark, but dark enough. And I sort of turned myself around facing the three of them. And this one guy said to me, he said, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to make sure you're dead this time. I'm going to cut your body up in pieces." That's what he said to me. I said, "Really?" I said, "You might have a problem there." And he said, "Why? Why would I have a problem?" He said. I said, "Try it and find out." So he came at me as a karate person. He told me he did karate. He was a master in karate. And he came at me kicking and everything. And I avoided his kicks and his punches. And then I swooped up and grabbed him by the ankle with the leg that he kicked up. And I smacked him to the ground, pulled him so hard to the ground. And then I swung him around by his ankle, and I hit the other two guys because they were bringing up the machetes. And they literally just went back about 10 or 15 feet and fell down. And then this guy got up, and he had a short knife, a short one. And he swung it at me a few times, and I grabbed it, and I literally just shoved it right up into his throat. And it went probably into his brain. It was only about 4 inches long. And I said, "How does it feel?" And I just ripped it to the right. And I could just see the blade cut through his throat. And he fell dead to the ground. And then I literally looked at the other guy, and they came at me swinging these machetes. And I got in between because I'm used to being a close fighter. That's how I was taught for many, many years. And I got in really close, and I hit one guy under the throat, and he started coughing. And he let go of his hatchet, and I grabbed it and swung it to the other guy and literally half removed his head. And I come back the other way and did the same with that guy. And they fell to the ground. And I looked around. There was no one watching. So I said, "That's it. They're gone. Finished. They'll never, ever come back again." And I swung my hand over the three bodies, and they vaporized right in front of me. This being appeared, and you're not going to believe who it was. It was the one they killed as Roman on that planet. And he looked at me and he smiled, and he said, "Thank you so much for bringing justice to what they did to me. It's not just me. They've killed others. They've hurt people badly. Thank you." And I said, "Well, they will never, ever be reincarnated again. They're done for, gone." And he said, "Thank you." And he put his hand out, and I actually shaked his hand. And it was very weird, Michael, shaking the same looking person as me. The only difference was he had black hair, really black hair, and he was built a little bit more, like not so much body fat, but a bit more. He was a bit more. And he said, "Thank you so much for coming and doing what you did." And he just vanished. And I woke up.
Wow.
And I had a smile on my face. Yeah. So that was that.
Yeah, you're finding it easy to smile after such violence.
Yeah.
It's just another part of the parcel. Just go to bed, go out, kick some ass, come back, smile when you wake up.
Exactly. But you know the most interesting factor of the whole thing?
What?
It's all about balance, Michael. It's about justice. When people are vicious and they do horrible things, there is only one thing that can be done to them. Basically the same form of punishment. So it equals the crime, and they think about it. And they may never do it again in their next life. But these three will never come back. That I do know. And I was amazed that I actually vaporized their body and did what I did. It was quite amazing to me.
Oh,
that
to me
showed
too.
me, yeah. But then I found out something more interesting. When I woke up, I looked up and my father's face appeared, Kuntarkis, right before me. And he said, "That was my gift for balance." That was my gift for balance. Isn't it interesting? And then he
Yeah.
said, I love you, son. He said, I love you, son. And he disappeared. Not vaporized, disappeared.
Disappear.
Yeah. It was very beautiful.
Ah, so was it? I'm just trying to see how that works. Gift for balance, because you were able to not only help what happened with Roman, but even to literally meet Roman and say, "Yeah, you're welcome." Is that where the balance
Yes,
is?
yes, yes,
Yeah, because this is
yes.
very special to literally be shaking hands with someone
That's you.
that's you to
Like
some
in the
degree.
body, in the body form, Yes, yes. Looks
Yeah.
exactly the same. Just a little bit more fatter on the face with black hair, but same hair down the centre, same sort of style and everything,
Wow,
which really amazed me. Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
And now for the Aliens of Tasmoyar.
I did have an extraordinary experience last night, very deep, and I never came back till I think it was just after 3:39 is when I woke up suddenly to have a pee-pee because I was desperate. But I was gone basically from at least 10 p.m. or just before till right through till 3:39. So it was a very long experience. When I say long, it was long, but what came back with me was a lot shorter. And for me to go into that, I'd probably have to speak for about 45 minutes, but I would not remember it all because there was just so much, so much. I remember last night just laying in bed there and I thought to myself, I'm not going to go to sleep. I feel really wide awake. And I did a little bit of work on computer that I had to finish something else to get it done. And I finished that, and it must have been about, say, 25 past 9. And by the time I cleaned my teeth and got to bed, it would have been about, say, quarter to 10 to 10. And I got into bed, and I stayed in that other room because I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't know what it was. And also, my darling was already asleep, so I did not want to go in there and wake her up. But she went to bed early last night. I remember coming out of my body. That's what I do remember. I remember the pool, and I remember all this lights, many different types of lights were around me again. I've seen this before. And I came out of my body and straight through the wall, and I was flying in space. And I was doing the same things that I did several days ago, or maybe a week and a half ago, where I was going high up, then to the left, then to the right, and back to the left again, and so many changes, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, all the time. And eventually, I landed, and I looked, and I said, "Oh my God, where am I?" You know. And I suddenly realized when this being come walking up to me, and he was small, and I recognized him, and it was a little being, and he looked human, and I remember seeing him on Mars, and his name is Tuka. Tuka. Name is Tuka. And he welcomed me, and suddenly there were just so many. And I said, I'm not on Mars. And he looked at me and he said, no, you're not. He said, you're on my planet. I said, wow. I said, you are far away. He said, yes, we are. He said, how are you, Kuntarkis? He said, just one moment. And he walked up to me and he grabbed both my arms with both of his arms. So he took one in the right, one in the left, and he lifted my arms up a little bit. And he said, just stand there for a moment. And suddenly I felt this energy coming from him directly into my body, and I became totally physical. That's the appearance that I was putting off. And I looked and I said, wow. And then he started taking me amongst all these little beings. They were females, they were males. They were a bit smaller than JC in height, very slender, very childlike bodies. It was quite incredible to actually observe. And once we actually got into this building, their buildings were all A-framed. Everything was A-frame. It was quite incredible to actually observe. And they were the ones that actually existed on Mars several million years ago. They existed on Mars as a planet, and that planet was called the same as what theirs is now, right? And what was really interesting is they lived there for several million years on that planet, Mars, as we know it today. And they were the ones that I told you that I went on to Mars, and they came out of this unusual cave that didn't have a door entrance. It looked like it was solid. And took me down in there and showed me all the inner caves and all that type of stuff. And we sort of ran around the mountain. We played games and everything. That was that race. And what was interesting is this being, Tuka, explained things to me of what actually happened on Mars. And the funny thing is, Michael, I sent you a thing on Mars. Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
or the day
last
before?
night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because it showed that Mars had water. And I never thought very much about it, but I thought I'd send it to you. Then I had this experience. So Tuka explained to me that when they lived there, they had to evacuate within hours off the planet, their entire civilization. Luckily, they were highly with technology, and they had the spaceships to take all their beings and disappear off that planet. And what was happening, the air was thinning, the gravity was becoming less and less, and the waters were all disappearing. The entire planet, it just changed. The spirit of the planet vaporized and was gone. And the planet was literally dying. Now, when I was there the first time, he showed me all the water. And the waters in these caves there was at least 3 massive cabins that were so massively big down inside Mars's planet. And there was enough water there to probably feed humanity for 100 years. Now, they have been back to Mars, and they've been working on it with their scientists. And what they've done, they've now brought the water up into where this massive section where it originally had water, which looks like something like a massive meteor hit it. I mean, a big, big one, because it had this massive indentation, and they have now filled that up with water. And there's a massive amount of water. That's the interesting part. So they've now going to rejuvenate the planet, and that's what's interesting. That's what they're working on. Now, it's really interesting how Elon Musk, he wants to go to Mars because he believes they can live on Mars. Now that water's been found there, that's going to push Elon Musk to go to Mars quicker because there was no water. Water just doesn't suddenly appear under its own natural making. That was made there by that race of little beings that look like children and very humanoid with points on their ears. That was really interesting. When I was back on the planet, when I was on the other planet, we talked about a lot of things. And we talked even about Misha, because they know Misha as Kalusha. They know that. And they want to reestablish Mars with air, oxygen, with the water, which they're doing, and with plant life by bringing back a synthetic spirit of energy that will formulate the planet for its regrowth. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take. It could take a really, really long time. It could be 10 years, 100 years, 200, 300 years. I have no idea when we look at, say, human time factor. But that's what they want to do. And they brought me to that planet of theirs where they are now to show me how luscious that planet truly is. Now, whether they want to make Mars their home again because they own that planet, they lived on it for millions of years, or they're opening up an opportunity for humanity. So I don't know. I don't remember asking the question, so there was a reason why I didn't ask, so I didn't worry about it. So that was interesting. Yeah, so, and then eventually I left. But in that time that I was on the planet, I actually ate food, vegetarian food, beautiful vegetables that were fried. Absolutely lovely. I can't believe I've never done that before. Literally eaten food. Yeah, so that was really interesting. And eventually I left and came back the same way. And when I awoke, within moments, I felt a really strange feeling that I went back to sleep. I peed and went back to sleep. When I awoke, it was just before I was going to take JC to school. I suddenly had this unusual, it was like a spontaneous moment of an inner feeling, not of being unbalanced, but I felt this vibration pulling at my body, like a frequency or vibration. I'm not sure what it was. And then I had this unusual smell that I could smell suddenly. And I just said, darling, I'm not 100% balanced. Something's going on here. I don't even remember how to get to JC school. And then I realized what it was. It was because of the amount of things that I've been doing over the last probably 4 to 6 months of being taken away through different realities, which has caused imbalances within my own vibration because I've been away from the planet Earth like hundreds of light years in different places. In fact, quite a few different places. And then traveling on that system that I did last night, it's just put my vibration, not my body, not my chakra centers, but my vibration, the frequency that I exist within, it put it out of whack. And it caused slight trauma to my internal being, including my human brain. I could think quite clearly, but there were things that I wasn't sure of. But within, say, laying down, doing a meditation after Misha took JC to school and I laid down and did a meditation, I suddenly realigned myself and I could remember everything again. So I know it was because of the traveling through vibrations. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I don't know what to say because no one else really goes through that and talks about that. But yeah, your spirit's been popping off elsewhere and even being physical when you're out there. So yeah, it must take a toll.
Yeah, eating food. This food was brilliant. I mean, the dishes they actually use chopsticks, not knives and forks, nothing like that. They have a really beautiful type of spoon, and they have chopsticks, and the bowl was a grey bowl, and it had a base, probably about say, about 15 centimeters in diameter, up about probably about 1.5 centimeters, and then it flared out into a large bowl. And that's what the food was put into, was grey with little, it looked like, what can I say it looked like? Like granite. It looked like granite that had been carved out. I didn't ask about it because I never thought about it, but that's what it looked like. And I remember sitting at these, they don't have separate tables, they have long tables, about at least 30 of them inside this massive hall. And they have 4 or 5 different cooking places around that entire section. And everyone comes out and brings the food out, like for the people. And the amount of people that would have been sitting there, these beings, there had to be at least 200 to 300, at least. And they're all staring at me. Yeah, it was quite, because all those ones have never seen a human before. But yeah, but it was very interesting, mate. Very interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
And they do drink a formulation of what would be a green tea, but it was very clear, like water, but it was hot and it was an actual tea, which was interesting. And it had a very, very beautiful aromatic taste to it, like fruit, like a combination of fruits. Very interesting to drink it.
Let me guess, they're all healthy looking.
Oh, yeah, very, very so. Very much. They're all vegans, absolutely vegans, and they don't have no packaged foods. By the way, everything is prepared when you eat. There is no shopping centres, nothing like that, from what I gathered. And I did ask a question. I said, "Do you have to go and buy your food?" And he looked at me and he said, "No." No, he said, everything is grown. We have pickers. They pick it and they distribute it to every household. That's what he said. They have no financial situation or anything like that, and everyone basically works for each other. Isn't that interesting how I'm meeting all these different civilizations? It's got to be a very common thing, Michael, throughout these universes.
Common to be without finances.
Yeah, without finances, without shopping centres. No shopping centres, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, you say everyone works for each other, which is absolutely beautiful, whereas other people on Earth are thinking, oh, how many years from now robots will be doing everything for us and we don't do anything. It's not like that, is it?
No, mate. No, not at all. Every civilization that I personally know now, well, they were in me from the past anyway, but the ones that I know, they don't have anything like that. As I say, they all work for each other. There's no monetary system, and there's no. A lot of them don't have shopping centres of any description, and the food grows, and they do grow food. They grow food in different sections of the place that sustains all their people. Yeah. And a funny thing about their world, by the way, I said, I get the sense that you don't have a force field around your planet. And he said to me, no, we don't. And I said, is that a little dangerous? He said, no, it's not. And I said, can I ask why? He said, yes, you can. It was really funny. And he explained to me that they're in a universe that no one knows about, where their planet is. And they've never had an alien race from another world come into their vibration unless they're invited. Okay? So it's very interesting. The Ilias know about them, and the Ilias have gone to their planet a lot, apparently. The Charons, I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look into it. But they're a very, very gentle race, a very childish race. They love playing games. They even play the games, mate, hide and seek. Now, that's really interesting, I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
Because when we were up on Mars, when they brought me to Mars, we played hide and seek after we ran around up the cliffs and everything, up on big mounds of rock areas and all that. And I remember him saying to me when we were running, and he leaped over between these two big rock sections. And he said, come on, he said, Kuntarkis, you can do this. You can do this. He said, you're not limited anymore. And I did it. I was surprised. I just leaped straight over. So it was really good. So, yeah, so it was a very interesting experience.
They want to put a synthetic spirit into Mars.
And that synthetic spirit will have a mass machine that is highly advanced to keep it active. And it will create the spirit, which will create the gravity and also eventually plant life. It'll grow automatically from living energy. I know that for a fact.
So it's all positive. It could really work out quite well.
It could, but how long it's going to take, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long they've been doing it because I don't recall asking them that question.
So they live all over the planet. How many do you think there are?
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. I can't answer that one. I was so flabbergasted with everything. I just enjoyed those moments. I communicated a lot, laughed a lot. I was getting embracements from them all like I was a daddy, and they were all my children. That's how it felt. And they just loved my presence. And I loved theirs because I was so intrigued that they appear as children, but they look like adults. And when you see the children, you know they're children. So, like say, for instance, you know how a toddler, right, walks around and it's a little bit wobbly and all that? Well, when their children walk around, say, like a toddler, they can run. That's what's interesting. They can run. They're really fast. I mean, they can take off and move so fast. I was really intrigued. I think maybe that's because they were small. I don't know. But they can do somersaults, run and do a somersault. It's just incredible. When I saw him on Mars running and then leap up and do 2 or 3 or 4 somersaults to land on the other side, I found that quite incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think I did ask you last time. They live for. You said they live for about 400 years.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was something like that. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I've got the spelling here. How do you reckon it sounds? Is it Tasmoyar?
Yeah, the name of the planet is Tasmoyar. That's correct, Tasmoyar. Their society is called the Rapanese. R-A-R, Ra, Pa, P-A-R, Nees, N-E-I-S, Rapanese. I remember this one saying to me, yes, we are the Rapanese. I said, oh, okay, can you say that again, please, so I remember?
Yeah.
And their planet is called Tasmoyar. And by the way, that is Sanskrit.
Right. Right. Well, and I guess they speak Sanskrit?
They speak it very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear. That's like the other ones, on the planet Zabarus. On that planet, they also speak Sanskrit. And the reason they speak Sanskrit is because my father, Yarkis Kardis, when he was there and he removed all the good ones and then dissolved all the bad ones, and when the good ones returned, he actually gave them the gift of Sanskrit because of the universal acceptance of Sanskrit. So they now speak Sanskrit. They don't speak their own language, which was a very, very unusual language. Only one of its kind. They still have that ability, but they have chosen, because of what Father did for them, especially for their evolution, he gave them Sanskrit and gave them free will to speak both languages if they choose to.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So the beings from the other planet Yes, they do speak very good Sanskrit. Yes.
And would you like to mention about their third eye?
Yeah, their third eye. Well, you know how we have a third eye, right? Which is basically in the center of our brow. Um, it's not the way people think it is, that an eye's going to open up and you're going to see. That's not how it works. That's just more fantasy, or mysticism or things like that. What it is, it's the same as us. We have the pineal gland, which sits at the bottom of the actual human brain, which is pretty close in level to our third eye, which is across the brow. And that third eye, when activated by becoming, how would you say, communicative with the mind, all you have to do to train it is close your eyes, use your imagination through your mind in whatever you want to see. Or you can turn around and say, I wish to see spirit. And if you say it many times while you're doing that, what you'll discover over a period of time, your mind will be connected to your pineal gland as long as it's not encased in fluoride. If it's encased in fluoride, you will never have that awareness whatsoever. Okay, so the magical side of the third eye, being the pineal gland, gives you the ability, like these beings, Rapanis, they have practiced through many of their generations. I'm talking thousands from what they told me, because they've always believed that they have an inner vision. They called it the inner vision, not the third eye. And they also know of what the pineal gland is all about, because I explained in English through Sanskrit that it's called the pineal gland. And they understood that, and that's where their magic is. From imagination through the mind to the pineal gland. And that will give you the inner vision to step beyond your own vibration and communicate with other alien beings, but also, this is the best part, but also to be able to be transported or transport yourself through vibrations by spirit to another planet and become physical.
So many of them can do that.
Oh, a lot of them. In fact, probably, 80 to 90% of them.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. That's why they can actually travel to Mars. And that's why they can actually bring me to Mars. And we were playing hide and seek and running around. It was incredible. They're very childish, but it's beautiful. They're very intelligent, very intellectual. The way they speak, it really shows their intelligence. That's what's really interesting. And they don't speak crap like we do here on Earth, the way we carry on with our human ego, which is absolutely ridiculous because we're such emotional beings because of our experiences from all our lifetimes. And we just keep bringing it up all the time. And we don't grow consciously because our pineal gland is encased in fluoride. And the funny thing is, Michael, that's what I'm just writing about at the moment. It's the Wednesday night of the time that I went to Spirit World and helped the Nipulans gather all those beings. And I was talking about the pineal gland. And I was talking about how the governments around the world, through the elite criminals, know that fluoride is one of the most toxic poisons for the human body. It causes all sorts of issues. About 67 different forms of ailments it will cause in the human body. And that's and that's what prevents us from becoming magical. And we have to understand the word magical is very broad. It has a broad spectrum. It's not just based on making something turn invisible, like you know how you can put a dollar coin in your hand and make it disappear, and that's called magic. Well, that's the physical essence of our understanding. But magic, in reality, to different forms of beings, is all about the third eye, which is the pineal gland. That will allow you to almost do anything. And they even explained to me about manifestation. You can manifest your whole essence wherever you want to go through living energy. But you have to have an open pineal gland with an open mind and a brain that does not try to cause you, how would you say, non-awareness, where it keeps putting up barriers so you don't grow consciously.
So yeah, so when they when they were at Mars, the time that you were there with them, they had literally traveled there without a spaceship. They just manifested their body there.
No, they actually had a spaceship.
Oh.
I saw the spaceship. They do travel. See, they can't guarantee all of them would end up on Mars because it's something that it's imperfection if you don't practice all the time. And a lot of them are younger and they don't have the experience, where a lot of them that are older or more matured have been practicing, say, if we use human time, probably 30, 40 years of their life. Just like me, look at me, 56 years of my life being here, working in areas that people would laugh at me. And yet today, the things that I'm doing would shock the hell out of them. I mean, I think when they hear, yeah, there's going to be a lot that's going to say, oh my God, this guy's absolutely insane. Others are going to say, because they understand a little bit about spirit world, about energy, not living energy, energy, and the way I've communicated in my expressions, they're going to say, holy hell, this could be real. And that's a really good beginning for any human.
Yeah, for sure.
So they did come in a ship. That makes it a lot more safer for all of them. And their ships travel, again, at the speed of light. More than the speed of light, many times the speed of light. Their ships aren't big like the Nicarons. Nicarons have motherships that are absolutely massive. I mean massive.
They're like 3 times the size of Earth?
No. Probably about a quarter.
Quarter the size of Earth.
Quarter the size of Earth.
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit less, but pretty close to that. Their motherships are massive, mate. I mean, they could put in 1 million Nicarons easily. And if they had to fit more in, they could. But they have, when I was there with Kalusha, before we came here, 13,331 years ago, I remember very clearly that they had over 60 motherships over the planet, and they had 40,000 battleships.
Wow.
Yeah. And have a guess what? Everything they build today, everything, no matter what it is, it's built out of living energy, transformed through manifestation and a very strong will through their computers into solid matter. That's why I know that living energy can be transformed into solid matter, because everything in some form of manufacturing, whatever, how would you say, whatever the intellect is, can be produced from living energy into solid matter. All it is, it's all in our thinking. in our consciousness, how we think we become. So when we advance our consciousness, we also advance our technology.
Wow. And you say these Rapanis
Yep.
had very unique abilities when it comes to their spiritual awareness.
Yes, they can, on their planet, they can levitate in their meditations, and they can stay in a meditation and actually travel over their planet in their yoga position. They also do what they call as yoga. I explained all that, and they say, yes, we do that. We also do what you call exercise for our bodies to keep our bodies limbered. There were ones there that looked like children that were 206 years old, and they looked like my son.
Wow.
No joke. They looked as young as my son because they don't eat the junk of what humanity eats. Everything that we put into our bodies, at least 80% of it, is junk. And it affects our bodies because of all the toxic poisons that are within our foods. So many foods. But their abilities are not limited like us. Yes, they're more highly advanced. They have been for thousands of years, but their ability to travel around the planet by themselves physically, they can do it through a spiritual awareness because they understand what energy is all about. They've never heard the term living energy until I explained it to them and about the Nicarons and what they do, and they actually want to meet the Nicarons. So that's something that I have to possibly arrange through Father or through Canarg. I said that I would do that. I said it would take some time, and they said that is not an issue with us, which is good.
So yeah, that means they can see auras, they can see spirit, they can do telepathy.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do all that, mate. Everything that we believe in spiritually, they've been doing for thousands of years. And this is the issue with us here on planet Earth. We create belief systems through religion and through other means. And the problem with that is it limits us to grow consciously. And the food we put into our bodies literally prevents us from going beyond what we already understand. Yes, we may grow in technology, but most of us don't even know about all the technology that humans have actually created because they keep it a secret. Right? We're dummies, mate. We're kept as dummies. We're the ones that provide the wealth for the rich that goes behind our backs, not only to harm us, not only to kill us, but to keep us dumbed out. So we're like pawns in a big barrel and we don't know what to do because we don't have the capacity to go beyond what we are.
Yeah, I see. Well, that's good that we got that about the Rapanese. That's fantastic. Oh, apparently Rapanese means magical.
That's right. They are known as the magical beings.
Yeah.
In other universes and other neighboring planets. That's very true. That's why they chose the name.
I see. Rapanese meaning magical. Huh.
They don't know. They don't really know of Father very well at all.
Okay. I was going to say he could help them out with a spirit for the planet, but maybe they've got it set.
Probably, I think Father would be very aware of them personally, but he leaves civilizations of different species on different planets alone, because he doesn't want to interfere with their evolution in changing anything. If he sees that they have a lot of issues, that's what he does then. He can come, like he did with the Nakarons, right? Like he did with Taikani. And there's probably many other civilizations around many different universes that he's actually came and helped. But as I said to you, he spent several thousand years in the Nakaron world watching and observing to see what type of race they were before he literally spoke out. And when he spoke out, he was highly accepted because he came in as a Nakaron. And then when he was given this massive speech, he told the truth and told them who he was. And they were all intrigued. There was no, you're a deceitful man and all this type of stuff. None of that. The Nakarons don't do that. If you're deceitful, they just ignore you. They don't go around judging you or anything like that. They don't become aware of you or they're wary of you. They just allow things to be. But when he said, "May I show my true form as a Zybekyapa?" And they all said, "Yes, please do." And when he did, you could see all the hands raise up under the chin and hands go on the face. They were just amazed. They hadn't seen anything like that before. And after that, he was accepted 100% and everybody wanted to talk to him. Everybody wanted to ask him questions. It was just unbelievable. Yep. And he visited over several hundred years the entire planet.
Wow.
And he presented himself because everything was viewed through a viewing and it went over the entire planet. So everyone knew what was going on. They don't hide things. There's no separate states. They're all interconnected. Not like here. You don't even know what's going on in Victoria. You only hear a little bit of news, but you don't even know if that news is real or a lie. Yeah.
Does Yakiskatis have friends his age?
Oh, that's something I can't answer, mate. If I knew the answer, I would say so. But to be honest with you, that's something I've never asked, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't. I've never actually asked anything like that. But if I see him again, whenever, I'll try and remember that. I'll ask.
Okay.
but I'm sure he has.
Yeah, I know. He certainly enjoys the company of Taikani.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's very proud of Taikani. Very proud. And if he sees that in someone, mate, he goes all the way to help that being. I told you that Taikani created on a planet his wife and his family. I told you that, didn't I?
Does that mean, real spirit, they're real again?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you said, and he spends his time there in a really normal human way.
Yes. Yeah. And as I said, he's got the spirit of his wife and the spirit of his children, and he created a body because he's got the ability to create out of living energy and create it as solid. And they eat like normal, everything. He took away the memory of the violence of the war, that when they were attacked. He took all that away when they died and everything like that before the war actually began, so they wouldn't have to live in that type of fear, which is understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So how are you feeling about your displacement? It's actually been several times recently you've had an experience of displacement. You smelt something as well.
Yes. Yeah, the smell is very familiar and it's pretty well the same smell all the time. And I got a strong feeling that could be my chemical structure And when the displacement occurs, I get that smell, so I know what's going on. I know something is going on. So I either lay down or go into a meditation to find out if there's something is going on. So it's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Sure. You're not, how do I say, worried about it in a normal physical health kind of way?
No, mate, no. I have always looked at it this way. Whatever will be in life. If you try to change it, and if you try to change it through a chemical structure, it can change the pathway of life because it actually plays with the body, the human body. That's why I don't take drugs of any description. And that's something I will not do, even if it meant my physical life dissipating. I would just allow it to be.
Wow.
I'm not the type of person that would just run around like so many people do and say, oh my God, I'm going to die, oh my God. Right? No. Death is nothing except a transformation. It's letting go of the human breath and the body, and you've got a spirit that is endless, timeless, and ageless. And if you have the understanding of what creation is all about through your own evolution, you can create a synthetic body that's physical. And that's what I've been working on for the last I think it's 56 years on this planet Earth.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You did you take your phone with you when you went to this planet?
Take my time.
No, your phone.
No, mate. No, I didn't. No, mate. It was sudden. No. It was sudden. I'm still working on trying to find a way to bring the phone that's created in spirit world back with me. I've got to find it. I think somebody's picked it up and they've taken it.
Sorry, really? You've actually lost it?
Yeah, I have lost it, yeah.
That's insane.
And they'd be wondering what the hell it is, you know. So I'll find it. I will find it. If I get desperate, I'll talk to Ardra. I'll talk to Ardra about it.
I mean, oh my gosh, because I believe, that you're literally in these physical experiences on other planets, in other even universes sometimes. So it is completely physical, but you can't travel back with something physical because the way you got there was to travel with your spirit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's very true. Very true. See, Michael, that reality as we know it is simply our conditioning. Now, how does that sound?
Yeah.
Exactly. When we change our conditioning, we can change the existence of our own evolution in what we understand to be real or not real. It's all in our consciousness. And that's what we've got to understand.
This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.